The first program we're going to write is a file edit. So, from the main menu, we'll choose Advanced Processing, D for File Definition, D for File Edit, and we get to use Create. We'll call it Play, press Field Release, and Release to Proceed. And of course we get the usual blank screen on something new, and what looks like an ugly error message that's only telling us our play file doesn't exist. It's going to create us a new one, which is exactly what we want. The first verb we're going to learn is note. I consider it the most important verb in any language. Unibase will ignore anything between the word note and the first period it encounters. So basically, you use the note verb to write comments to yourself or to anyone else who has to maintain the program. Let's type the verb note. I'm going to space 2 dashes and a space. That's just my style. You'll see it a lot. And what do we want to say? How about first program talking to the outside world? And let's not forget the period. We're going to write the classic Hello World program. That's typically the first thing you do in a new language. See if you can make it do the simplest possible thing that tells you your code is successful. I can write a lot of code that executes, but have no clue that it actually does something. That's why displaying on the screen is usually the first example. You see a result for your effort. Child psychologists call this positive feedback. The verb pause displays to the screen, so that's the one we'll use. And what do we want to see? Hello world, of course. But there's a problem with this statement. We know pause is a verb, but hello and world look like variables based on the explanations in the prior lesson. How can we fix that? By putting quotes around hello world. Now it's a literal and the operand or direct object of the pause verb. Notice that I indented before I started typing. I did that with the tab key. The aid language is free form. It relies on periods and semicolons to tell it where statements ends, but otherwise white space between verbs and operands don't matter, and neither do commas, and neither do blank lines. All these can be put in to make your program more readable. Be careful with other punctuation marks though. Almost everyone has a syntactical use in aid. This is all we need for our program, so what do we do now? First let's write it out, F10W. And then let's exit the editor with F10X. Now we have to parse the program. Parsing is Unibase's term for turning the program into something the computer can execute. If we do a display right now, and we want to see everything that starts with the characters PLAY, we see only one file, and it has a .et extension on it. This is our source code. Alright, let's parse it. We'll choose H for parse, put in play, field release. Unibase says, I found your source code. Alright, we're going to tell it release to proceed. We're going to see a 1 moment, and when we get the release to proceed at the bottom, it says we're done. If it hadn't parsed successfully, we would get error messages instead. If we press release, we're back to the file edit menu. If we do our display now, PLAY asterisk, there are 2 files, the .et, which is our source code, and the .r, which is our executable code. Now let's go execute our file edit from the File Functions menu. I'm going to press Help twice to back up 2 menus. Then choose File Functions, and item C says execute a file edit. The name of our program is Play. Is it going to be that easy? Not quite. When we press Field Release, Unibase asks us for a file name. All AID programs operate on a Unibase file of some sort, sometimes only a dummy file or an implied file, and sometimes many files. The specified Unibase file is referred to as the work file. For our purposes, we'll use a file named OPSTWF. That stands for Operator Statistics Work File. It's a one-record file that comes with the software and should be present unless someone at your site deleted it. Because our program doesn't access any fields in the file, it doesn't matter what's in it. Alright, let's press Field Release. Unibase says, I found your file. Now what? We press Release to proceed. And look, we got Hello World at the top of the screen. Cool. How do we get out of it? Let's look at the online manual. I had already called up pause, and it says that execution is suspended until we press the Help key when we're in a file edit. Okay, I'm willing to try it. Let's press Help, and we get our Release to proceed, which says that we've finished executing our file edit. And when we press Release again, we'll be back at the File Functions menu. That was pretty cool. We'll try some more code in the next lesson.